Cameron, welcome back. I got to 14 to get it up, but apparently there's short from the chapters apparently. Weird. Let's continue.
Presenting His Grace, Lord Midoriya Wolfsbane and His Lady Hatsum of the Forge, Izuku Winston being introduced.
I remember there was an 18 part, and definitely in this video there will definitely be 18 part plus 18 content. There's some, I know that, but there may be more later after the other 14, because I know we're gonna get to my part where I did not, where the guy finished, even though there's more.
As such, but May was leaning on his arm and looking around excitedly at the nobles that filled the great hall as they walked in. Izuku, do you think the king will like my babies? I wonder if he'll give me funding for a super cute workshop to build all day and night. Maybe, but we should ask about that later, Izuku whispered to her. And presenting for the first time their most divine graces, Lady Aqua, goddess of water and archpriest of the Axis Church, and her dark majesty Megumin, archwizard, the Crimson Demon Cult, and mistress of explosions. Thank you, my adoring worshippers, Aqua called behind Izuku. I, Aqua, your goddess, am here to save you all. All around Izuku, noble in their finery, knelt as Aqua and Megumin walked in. The guildmages, however, struck ridiculous poses and cried, "Behold, she who will master explosion, Lady Megumin." Good grief, Izuku groaned. It was like watching a bad internet meme spread, only most of the people doing it were old enough they should have known better. They do look very silly, but it would be very rude to tell them, and I think it would hurt Megumin's feelings again, so we should be nice. May told Izuku. "Yeah, sorry, you're right." Izuku sighed in agreement. They walked down a plush purple and gold carpet leading through the grand hall, crystal chandeliers glowing with mage lights above them. The entire hall was made of dazzling white marble with gilded accents and decorated with elaborate murals and wall hangings. And then stood a raised dais, upon which stood an impressive throne carved from what appeared to be a single piece of ivory, and upon the throne sat an older man, looking somewhere just shy of 60s, with a neatly trimmed white and gray beard and a weathered face. He was dressed in shining golden armor, along with a feathered mantle of dark green. His crown was a simple golden circlet set with a ruby at the center glimmering in the light. Izuku and May both went to bow, but were stopped when the king suddenly stood. "Lord Midoriya, Lady Hatsum, you bow to no one here. Tell me, are you indeed from another world?" "Yep, we're from Japan." "Are you from Earth too?" May asked. Charles shook his head. "No, I was born here. 2 centuries ago, my ancestor, Inji Yamamoto, was also sent to this world, with the blessing of the goddess Psyche Dio and her husband, Saint He. That's not their names." Aqua pipped up, coming to stand by Izuku. "You're mispronouncing them. She's Sakido, and he's Seiya." "Sakido? Doesn't that mean restart?" Izuku asked. "HMPH, yes," Aqua said, puffing her cheeks out. "Rista thinks she's so smart. Changed her last name to Sakido when she married Seiya. He was from Japan too, you know. Now they're both gods and just completely insufferable." The king blinked, taken aback by the apparent theological revelation. I did not realize this. Your pardon, Lady Aqua. But I've got a super great deal for you today, King Charlie, Aqua said, drawing out a "If you convert now to the Axis faith instead of whatever Rist is calling, but if instead you convert to the Crimson," Megumin cackled, drawing, "your pardon, goddesses. I shall, of course, offer you both offerings and prayers, but I am afraid, as ceremonial head of the new religion in Royaume, I am afraid that I must decline. I have legalized your cults, of course, and I am deeply grateful for your blessings upon this world and for your very presence," King Charles said, bowing slightly. "HMPH," Aqua sniffed. "Well, I guess I'll still save your land, since so many of my followers live here now. But you better build me a super cool temple with lots of fountains. And it should be nicer than Rista's too. My church should meet in a dark catacomb," Megumin declared. "Of course, as you will, goddesses. Now, and I want," May said eagerly. "We could make you more like this. An armor like Midoriya's. I'll show you all how to make aluminum and generate electricity too. We could make lights and all sorts of stuff. Whatever you desire, Lady Hatsum." I have been told of your wondrous creations already. My alchemists and craftsmen shall provide all that you require. Then Charles turned to Izuku. And you, Lord Midoriya, what is it you want? I can make your title far more than just a name. I would be willing to grant you a duchy and all the incomes associated with it. Actually, I wasn't planning on staying, Izuku said, feeling nervous and shifting uneasily. May suddenly took his hand and squeezed it, smiling at Izuku, and he felt much more confident. Taking a deep breath, Izuku explained, "You see, when we defeat the Lord of the Tomb, I was going to ask Aqua to send Hatsum and I back to our own world. I have a promise I have to keep. I was given a great power by the greatest hero in our world, All Might. I promised to be the symbol of peace for our country, which has troubles of its own. I hope that doesn't disappoint you too much. I'm saddened to hear you will not stay with us, but I understand. You seem to be a lord in your own land, and as such, you have a duty to fulfill. You are a man of honor. Still, I shall name you Lord Midoriya Wolfsbane in truth. Whatever you ask of the crown, if it is in my power, I shall grant." "Thank you," Izuku said, blushing. Actually, we're sort of tired. It was a long trip. Could we maybe eat and have somewhere to rest before we get ready to fight the Lord of the Tomb?" "Of course. I had planned a great feast to honor your arrival, but perhaps now is not the time for frivolities," the king said. "Come, let us adjourn to my private dining room." Aqua and Megumin turned out to be more interested in meeting with their followers than food for the moment, so Izuku and Mei ended up alone with the king and some servants in a small private chamber. Once the food was served, the king dismissed the servants, leaving them alone. They chatted quietly over dinner, most of the conversation coming from the king asking Izuku and Mei questions about their homes and families. It felt strangely normal to have dinner with the ruler of an entire nation, as the king had taken off his crown and armor to dress in fine but simple clothes. "It seems that your land is one full of wonders, but in the end, people are the same, I suppose. It does disturb me to hear of so many dangerous men whom you call villains. Are there truly no monsters for humanity to face? Other races that vie for—" the king asked. "Nope, just people. Are there aliens here?" May asked curiously. "I've always wanted to go to space and find aliens. I wonder what sort of technology they have, what babies they can make. There are indeed other races." The king nodded. "Goblinoids are the most common, though there are the Fae as well to consider. Most of them have been long since driven from the lands of men by heroes such as yourself, sent by the goddesses." "Can I ask you something about the goddesses?" Izuku asked, and the king nodded. I don't mean to be offensive. I know it's your religion and all, but, don't you think Aqua and Megumin are a bit strange?" "Maybe, I don't know, silly. Of course, they are goddesses. They are not like men," the king replied as if it were odd, "but they do such weird stuff." May laughed. "Like those silly poses, or the things Aqua says about love. Why do you listen to them so much?" The king considered this for a moment. "In your land, many are born with great gifts such as your incredible vision, Hatsum, and your strength, Midoriya. Yes. Well, in these lands, men are not given such great powers. I would walk naked through the streets of my city if it meant I would be given the power to protect my people. Men have long required the aid of the gods to secure our place in this world. An odd dance is a small price to pay for the power to change the course of a battle, and paying homage to a deity, no matter how odd, gives priests the power to heal our sick. I guess that makes sense," Izuku admitted. It was hard to argue that Aqua and Megumin weren't powerful or that they didn't bestow potent gifts. Izuku had been willing to put himself through an exhausting physical and mental hell for a year to get one for all. He definitely would have been willing to do a few ridiculous dances or pray to Aqua if it got him something similar. If he were honest, he had to pray to Aqua for something else already, and he hadn't even tried that yet. "Well, this meal has been most enlightening in many ways. I look forward to seeing you both during our planning sessions later. I am sure you will provide insights we would not foresee. You may retire to your rooms or partake in leisure about the palace and city for the evening," the king said, standing. "Thank you again, brave heroes, for coming to our aid." It was still fairly early, so Izuku and Mei went about finding the palace smithy to work for a bit. On the way, however, they were ambushed by Aqua and Megumin, who were hurrying through the halls. "Quick, you have to save us." Aqua pleaded to Izuku, They won't. What? Who's there? Izuku demanded, tapping into One for All and assuming a fighting stance. Ever since he'd officially joined the Axis faith, it was becoming increasingly easier to channel the quirk without tearing his muscles with every move. He could now afford to let his power flow through him with barely a thought now, though he still had to hold back most of the time while actually attacking or risk serious injury. We'll blow him up, Hatsun. No explosions. Megumin ordered, speaking what was ordinarily blasphemy to her as she waved her hands frantically. You can't. That brought Izuku up short. Huddy looked down the hall and could just make out voices coming their way. Please, goddesses, share more of your wisdom. I must know who will be the best wife for my son. Tell us, what does the future hold? Izuku let out a soft groan as you're running from your own faith. At first it was nice and all, but they just won't stop. They're all asking dumb things, not even how to heal the sick or something important. Aqua whined. I just want somewhere to drink my bubbly and be left alone. Half of them aren't even qualified to receive my blessing, and they keep demanding to know the significance of the poses and hand gestures I make. They won't even listen when I tell them it's just because it looks cool. Please, Midoriya Heisum, you have to rescue us. You're our champions. Do your job. Mei and Izuku both gave the two blubbering goddesses flat looks, but then Mei nodded. I guess we should help you or something, since you're our friends. You sure we can't just do a few? No explosions. Especially inside the castle we are currently in. Izuku, come on, I have. Hey, do you know where they keep yes. No. Izuku, with a squeak, the mate. No good, we need really simple clothes. Izuku, why just do it, okay? Aqua, hurry, the nobles are catching up. The maid complied, taking them down a few stairs to the lower levels of the palace. These are most perfect, thank you. Izuku told the maid and handed her some of them. Izuku, what do you want with these? Change into them. We can stash our old clothes. Izuku explained quickly. We can go out looking like. I do not think so. Our hair is wrong. I have been looking, and everyone has the same colors of hair here. Yellow, brown, and some black. No pink or green. I cannot be seen without my Megumin. This is the look. Is because if you go out in your hero costume, people are going to realize who you are. We can't do anything about your eyes. Hero costume. Yes, it is very heroic, but I do want to just be alone for a while. Megumin lectured. Why, May asked, already having stripped out. Megumin, do you have no shame? Showing off for you? It's not my fault. I am an ageless immortal. If I grew up, my boobs would be just as big as yours. Besides, some guys like smaller women, I'll have you know. May looked down at her own rather ample assets, cocking her head to one side. They are mostly a bother. They get in the way, and if I do not wear the right underwear, they hurt sometimes. Izuku stammered, trying hard to look away, but ultimately failing as May walked up to him. Thankfully, she stood. That is not fair. He is your boyfriend. Of course he will be biased in favor of big boobs. Megumin snapped. Oh, relax, Megumin. Come on, we can change over here, Aqua said, grabbing the. May watched them go. Look, why does it matter? Everyone is different. Boobs are just a secondary sexual characteristic. Like big muscles for boys. I have muscles too, but they are not as big as yours. I like your muscles though, does that mean? Yes, very much. Izuku admitted, trying very hard not to stare. What would Handsome think of him? I see. I really should have paid more attention in biology. May mused. Didn't you start feeling different when you were? Izuku asked, forcing himself into motion and putting on a pair of rough woolen trousers and overtunic. They were dyed in simple colors, but ended up. May had chosen what were obviously male clothes to Izuku's eyes. She apparently had an abject. Well, yes, but it was mostly annoying. Hari and Mom helped me when my girl problems started. Do boys have some? May asked. Quickly. And no, really, then why do you keep trying to hide your underwear in the morning? May Izuku bit back a reply. He did not want to talk about the unforeseen complications of sharing a bed with a very cute girl. The dreams were entertaining, though. Yeah, let's just go see what Aqua and Megumin are up to, Izuku said, hurrying outside to avoid the topic. As it turned out, the two troublesome goddesses were already changed, with both of them now wearing shawls pulled low to hide their hair and eyes. They were both dressed in simple dresses, Aqua somehow having found a blue one, while Megumin had picked out the darkest one she could find. So now what? May asked. We go out and Aqua. I've got loads of cash from all the offerings, so we'll find an inn and enjoy ourselves. I don't know if it's such a good idea to just go get drunk, Izuku said cautiously. If you say I look like a kid, I will personally ensure that a terrible misfortune falls upon your head. The mage growled. Bah, who cares? There's no drinking age here. Come on, we're going to go fight a war in a couple days. Relax, have some fun while you can. Aqua all but sang. Let's go. So off they went. It was easy enough to get out of the palace, leaving through a servant's gate by following some real servants out and heading out into the larger city. Though it was growing dark as night fell, the streets were still busy and crowded with people who had just gotten off work. Sparse torches along select stone walls casting a mellow light upon the hustle and bustle. Aqua even got directions to an inn with a nice selection of drinks easily enough from a passing worker. Just down the street a ways, the Pint and Pickle is a good tavern, excellent wine. Though I must ask, are you looking for rooms? Your features are quite foreign. Are you refugees? We've been getting more and more of them, though thank the goddesses, the devils are still far off from our walls. We're just here for a good time. Come on, you guys, I want to try some new wines, Aqua cheerily said. It didn't take long for them to find the inn, which had a sign depicting a pickle sticking out of a mug of ale hanging out front. It was filled with people laughing and enjoying themselves, most of them looking like well-off merchants, servants, or peasants who were there to enjoy themselves after a long day of labor. What can I get for you? The serving boy asked them as Izuku's group sat at a table near the back. 4 of your house drinks and something greasy and tasty to eat, Aqua ordered. And sweets. I already had dinner, so I want some dessert, May demanded. I can bring you 4 tankards of ale, 2 deniers each, and the food will cost you another 10. Sure, bring it on, Aqua laughed. I'm flush with cash. She dug out a couple of gold coins and gave them to the boy, whose eyes nearly bugged out on seeing them. Thank you, lady. I'll be back with your food. The boy ran off immediately, and Izuku let out a groan. What? Aqua asked, frowning at him. That's probably enough money to stay here for a week. You just gave him 2 francs, which are worth 12 argentum, and each argentum is worth 12 deniers. The food and drink was going to cost us 18 deniers, and you gave him the equivalent of 288. What? I got ripped off. Hey, give me my change. Aqua squawked, standing up and shaking her fist until Megumin jerked her back down. You start yelling about that, and it's going to draw attention, Megumin hissed. Just forget about it. How many of those gold coins do you have anyway? I don't know. I stopped counting after the first 100 or so. I thought it was just like Eris, so fairly worthless, Aqua complained. Would it kill you to pay attention to money for once, Aqua? Megumin sighed. This is why the rest of us always had to keep your reward money. You'd always end up spending it on something stupid like a chicken egg. Emperor Zell was a dragon. He was just a small and fluffy one. Aqua grumbled under her breath, arms crossed. Izuku looked at Megumin, who grinned and shook her head. She spent millions on a dumb chicken egg. He made a nice mana battery, though. Before Aqua could protest, the boy hurried back with a platter of fried chicken, sweet rolls, honeyed fruit, and bread pudding. Be back with the drinks, lady. He panted and turned to go, but Megumin put his hand on his shoulder. He spun, looking guilty. Hey, none of that. We're just normal customers, okay? But keep the drinks coming, and we won't ask for any money back. Of course, I mean, yes, miss. The boy agreed. Megumin removed her hand, and the boy sprinted back, returning with 4 ales and a bottle of wine. Here you go. If you need more, just wave, and I'll... He paused, gaping as Aqua appended a mug, draining it in seconds, before slamming it back down with a massive grin. She did the same with each of the rest, then let out a great belch before she laughed. That was good. Something for my friends, too. This bottle is all mine. Come to Mama, sweetie, I've missed you. I'll be back with more ale and wine, the boy promised. Sheesh, maybe you didn't overpay. Izuku wasn't that hungry, but he still picked at the candied fruit simply to not drink on an empty stomach while he watched in amusement as Aqua proceeded to guzzle the wine straight from the bottle. Have you always been an alcoholic? PFFF, I'm a goddess. I can't actually get alcohol poisoning, Aqua said, smacking her lips in satisfaction. Plus, I'm a goddess of water. This stuff comes naturally to me. Won't you have to pee a bunch? May asked curiously. No goddesses do not go pee, Aqua ranted. I've been meaning to ask you about that, Megumin said. It's been a while, and I haven't had to, go. Our divine bodies convert everything into pure energy, Aqua declared. We never have to go pee or anything else that gross mortals do. Well, I don't miss it, but it's kind of weird. I always thought you were making that stuff up, to be honest. It made sense in the divine realm, but when I first came back here, I had to, go. But ever since I've gotten more followers, I haven't, I felt the call of nature. It does not make any sense. You should still have to excrete some form of waste. Hastem objected. Your body can't possibly process everything you put into it. Nah, it totally does. I don't even have to get drunk if I don't really want to. I just like how it feels, Aqua told them. Slumming it with mortals is actually pretty fun, so I let myself experience things like getting tired and sleeping or eating and stuff, but I don't have to do it. Prayers and offerings are enough to sustain us goddesses. Is that why your anatomy is so weird? Megumin asked. You look like a doll in the bath. I always wondered about that, but I didn't want to ask. Hey, let's talk about literally anything else, Izuku cried desperately. Yes, enough of that. Let me tell you about the super cute babies I have been making, Handsome said. They ended up talking for several hours, and Izuku ended up ingesting enough ale to leave a faint warm feeling pulsing throughout his body. He might have also ended up going on a long rant about the superiority of various All Might product lines and why the American Year's All Might line of figures in particular were the best, but the others seemed happy enough to listen. They all ended up talking about their own hobbies after that. Aqua, to no one's surprise, loved drinking and partying, but she turned out to also enjoy exploring new places and had an insatiable curiosity when it came to new experiences. She was also an accomplished artist in a dozen fields and ended up performing a complicated song and dance atop their table that had been cheering for more. She went on to perform an impromptu shadow puppet routine that had the entire and laughing hysterically and sobbing by turns, each line more slurred than the last. Megumin's interests extended far beyond explosions and funny poses. She talked excitedly about several dozen games that Izuku had never heard of, explaining the importance of different stats and builds and how to min/max your character for maximum damage output. She was also a big fan of cute things, especially cats and Hello Kitty in particular, having discovered the brand while in the divine realm. In contrast, Mei and Izuku's interests were somewhat narrow. Izuku only cared about heroes and All Might in particular, while Mei loved inventing and building things. Hey, don't worry about it. As you get older, you'll discover more things you enjoy, Megumin told them. I used to only love explosion magic, but there's more to life than that, even if explosion is still the greatest thing ever. It is very fun, but I like making babies more, Mei declared. I'm sure Izuku does too. Megumin deadpanned, which caused him to choke on his drink. Mei had to pound his back while Megumin cackled at her pun. All right, fash enough here, Aqua said, staggering back to their table. Come on, Hick, we've just got us started. Let's move this party on. Yeah, fine, you look like you've had enough anyway, Izuku sighed. The rest of the inn was sad to see Aqua go, having rather enjoyed her antics, but Izuku noticed a few people in clergy robes had entered and were looking about. Crap, you guys have drawn notice, Izuku said. He caught the serving boy. Hey, is there a back way out? My friend, she's not doing too good. Oh, sure, for you, no problem. This way. The boy led them out a back door, Megumin having to support a staggering Aqua. When they got outside, Aqua ended up vomiting into a pile of trash. It got the serving boy's attention as it came out as a sweet-smelling rainbow. You really are her, aren't you? The boy whispered. You're the goddess, Aqua. I knew someone so kind and beautiful had to be a goddess. That's right, Hick. Don't go telling nobody, Aqua said, wiping her mouth with her hand and only succeeding in clearing the right side. The boy nodded with awe, then shifted on his feet uneasily. Can you really heal people like they say? Yes, I am an hick expert at healing, Aqua said, waving grandly. Then she puked again. Could you heal my dad? He came back from the fighting, but he's hurt. Lost his leg. He can't work no more. Of course. But are you one of my hick worshippers? Aqua demanded. The boy nodded vigorously and pulled out a crude amulet shaped like a water wheel. We're Axis Church members. Please, it's not very far. You have to come help. I thought we didn't want to draw attention, May said, looking uncertain. Bal, it'll be fine. Besides, hick, he brought me the good SH stuff. Fashion miracle earnin'. Lead the way, kid, Aqua ordered before drunkenly stumbling off after him. The boy led them a few blocks down the dark streets to a less orderly-looking part of town, the area showing signs of age and lack of maintenance compared to the main street. There were large tenement buildings, which were completely back in the night, as the residents could afford to waste candles. We live up at the top, the boy admitted. It's a long climb in the dark, but I have a candle. Don't weed it, Aqua told him. Holy light. A small glowing blue orb appeared in Aqua's hands. Lead the way. They hadn't gone far up the stairs before Izuku heard the sound of a wet cough and a crying baby. The boy wrinkled his face. Lots of babies sick. The grip's been going through. I hope my baby sister doesn't get it. People are worried their babies are gonna die. That seemed to get Aqua's attention. What? No little babies are dying on my watch. Without warning, she barged into the nearest room, causing an immediate uproar. Get the hell out, I'm warning you, I've got a knife. A man bellowed. Oh, shut up. Aqua snapped. Your baby's sick. She threw off her hood, and in the light emanating from her hand, the room was bathed in an ethereal glow. The man paused, lowering his weapon. Poor. Aqua shoved him aside, stepping over to the cowering woman who was clutching her child close. PFF. They want me to tell them holy words and stuff. Well, here's one, you dumb nobles. Get off your asses and use my gifts to heal people. Sheesh. Aqua ranted, her earlier inebriation apparently having vanished. Cure disease. The wailing baby suddenly quieted, its cough gone, and Aqua nodded, rolling up the sleeves on her dress. Right, where's the next one? Goddess? The man gasped, falling to his knees. Are you really? Yes, I'm Aqua, goddess of water, blah blah. You can thank me by going to my shrines and praying once in a while. Now hurry up, who else has a sick kid? Aqua demanded, planting her hands on her hips. Come on, Megumin said, tugging on Izuku's sleeve. Let's go wait outside. When she gets like this, it can take hours, or even days before she calms down again. What do you mean? Izuku asked, following Megumin back down the stairs. Megumin sighed. I've seen her manifest like this before. She doesn't do it very often, she's really quite lazy. But if her followers bug her enough, she'll go on a spree and cure an entire city before she calms down again. Then she yells at her priests for a while, then gets drunk and passes out. The only reason she never did it in Belzerg is because they had enough clerics to keep people mostly healthy. For some reason, seeing sick humans in particular really pisses her off. Can you help heal people too? May asked, curious. Megumin shrugged and shook her head. Unless the cure is more explosions, I can't really do anything for you. I'm not a healing goddess, you know. They ended up going to sit outside as shouting and lights began to fill the tenement. Izuku could hear Aqua making her way through the building, shouting out heal and cure disease. Other people from nearby buildings began to come out complaining about the noise, but they were quickly silenced when those Aqua had healed began to spill out. The goddess Aqua, she's here. She cured my baby. She healed my foot. She came to us. She cares. She really cares. Before long, there was a huge, noisy crowd rejoicing outside of the building, clamoring for Aqua and her healing graces. What Aqua demanded, sticking her head out of a window on the 4th floor. Damn it, I'll be down when I'm done. Midoriya, keep them from rushing in. Someone's going to get hurt, and I am not healing people for being dumb. You understand me. Now everybody shut up and let me work. With a sigh, Izuku went over to the door, blocking the passageway. Please, everyone, just form an orderly line. Those with injuries or sickness, please wait on the right. Those who merely want to see the goddess, you can please group up on the left. Who are you? Someone shouted. Why should we listen to you? Wait, that's Lord Wolfsbane, the goddess's champion. Please help us, Lord Wolfsbane. My daughter has the grip. Isku felt panic, taking half a step back as people pressed close to him. Then there was a deafening bang, and people let out cries of alarm. You are all being very rude. You should listen to Izuku. He said, go to the right if you are sick, left if you are not. No is right, pay attention. Stop being dumb. Handsome lectured as she began to push people into line. Don't make me use another one of my babies to get your attention. The next one won't just be a flashbang. You should do what they say, Megumin said, coming to stand by Izuku. Aqua's gonna be a while, but she'll come back, don't worry. Just make sure you have some drinks or something. She gets thirsty and bored really quickly. It's the goddess Megumin, the dark lady who can destroy armies at a word, that finally got everyone's attention, and with some mild jostling and grumbling, everyone got into a semblance of lines. What's all this then? A guardsman called, hurrying over with a torch. What the devil are you people doing out of bed so late? Is there a fire? It's the goddesses. They've come to grant us their blessings. The guardsman blinked, then looked up at Izuku. Good gods, Lord Midoriya. They've been looking for you everywhere. Hi, Izuku said, waving lamely. We are on a holy mission. The guardsman nodded. I suppose so. Don't fret, my lord. The city watch will keep order from here. Which was how Izuku ended up spending the night in the city slums. After another hour of the city watch coming to investigate, a group of clergy also showed up, which caused Aqua to harangue them for a solid 10 minutes. How can you claim to be part of my priesthood if you're just sitting on your lazy asses? The Axis cult gets shit done, do you understand me? Now you fat fuckers get out there and start healing the sick, or so help me I'll remove your blessings and have Megumin curse you all. She finished after a long and increasingly profane rant. I only know one curse, Megumin growled, and it is the curse of explosion. You're not moving, so I shall begin. Darkness, blacker than night, crimson redder than blood, heed my call. And the archbishops, high priests, and other high church officials broke into a run, scattering throughout the slums and beginning to hand out free healings to those in need. Lord Midoriya. Izuku looked up to see Count Blois looking at him worriedly. Are you well? Yes, sorry, just kinda tired. Izuku yawned. Mei was snoring on his shoulder, having fallen asleep nearly an hour ago. Izuku didn't know the time, but he figured it had to be close to dawn. Come on then, lad. The goddesses might not need sleep, but you do. Come, we've a carriage for you. Izuku didn't remember much after that, but the next thing he knew, he was in bed with Hatsu. A part of him wondered if that was proper, but the other half affirmed something for him. Her boobs really were pretty great. 12, a boy takes his girlfriend to a dance. The two are dancing happily, and his girlfriend is having a great time. When the song is over, she asks him to get her some punch, so he heads over to the punch table, and there's no punchline. This chapter. Deafening explosions rent the air, and for a moment, Kazuma felt slightly nostalgic. He shook it off, though, grimacing and scratching at his ears. He'd put wax in them, as he told all the gunners to do, but still the thunder of the cannon was ear-piercing. The gunnery was pretty crude, and the rate of fire was probably abysmal by normal standards, but the guns were still tearing huge chunks into the advancing army of goblinoids and undead. However, the enemy army just kept pressing forward, more bodies simply filling their place as they trampled over the fallen without care. Kazuma knew soon they would be up the walls. What to do then? He hadn't figured out yet. Jealous, Megumin? I've made a bigger boom than you now. Kazuma chuckled. He stepped up onto the parapet, posing with one hand pointing skyward and the other making a V sign towards the foe. Firepower greater than the gods, raining terror down upon our foes. Witness now the might of I, Kazuma, slayer of devil kings and need extraordinaire. That was when Kazuma saw a fireball rising up out of the enemy army barreling right towards him. He let out a cry and tried to scramble back, only to have a firm hand grab and yank him away as it collided where he had been standing. Darkness let out a grunt as the missile impacted her, and Kazuma let out a squeak as she crushed the air from his lungs with her shielding embrace. "Thank you," he gasped. "Do not be so foolish, Kazuma. This is a battle, not a stage play," Darkness told him, setting him down on the stone of the walkway. She drew her sword. "Mages, stand by to defend the cannons. They are in range. If we lose the cannon now, victory will slip through our grasp." Magical barriers were quickly erected around the cannons just as more fireballs and missiles impacted them. Kazuma watched them connect, then swore, "Damn it, they are just breaking through. It's like they are not even there." Darkness suddenly rushed over, grabbing Kazuma and tackling him off the parapet. He let out a cry of panic, only to watch as lightning struck where he had been standing as they fell. "Levitate." Kazuma gently floated to the ground, landing gently on the cobblestones. Uraraka and Takayami ran up looking panicked. "They're taking out the cannons with their own mages. They are too strong," Uraraka said. "Kazuma, we have to do something to protect those cannons." "Yeah, I get that," Kazuma said, grunting as Darkness got off of him and helped him up. He looked at Takayami. "You willing to try to do something crazy?" "We shall have to try something insane to beat this army," Takayami told him. "I am willing. The smoke and dust in the air shall aid me somewhat." "Okay then. Here's the plan," Kazuma pointed behind him. "We need to take out those mages. They're pounding us, and even with the cannons, we don't really have shit we can do against the sheer numbers of them. All the magic users on our side are too low-level to do anything against them, either attack or defense-wise as well, which leaves us." His three companions nodded seriously, and Kazuma sighed heavily. "The plan is we launch Darkness and Takayami into the midst of them. You two take out as many as you can. Uraraka, you and I ever played Counter-Strike?" No. Is that a video game?" Uraraka asked, confused at the reference. "Yeah, well, never mind. We're going to go plant a bomb while Takayami and Darkness distract everyone. We make for the middle of the army, plant our bomb, and run like hell. Got it?" "How do we do that?" Uraraka asked. Kazuma smiled. "Simple. We drop it on them." "Hey," Kazuma said, grabbing Takayami's arm as Darkness and Uraraka ran off to prepare. "Do something for me, all right. She will be fine," Takayami told Kazuma with a tight grin. "Yeah, he's not gonna let her die until he taps that ass." Dark Shadow squawked. Kazuma gave the quirk a flat look, then sighed. "Look, she's my best friend. We've been through hell together. I know she can take care of herself, but I don't want to see her die again, all right? You're my word. We will defeat this army and live to tell the tale," Takayami assured Kazuma. "You just do the same for Uraraka. Yeah, don't worry. If she dies, I'm screwed anyway, so I plan on keeping her healthy. Let's do this." They climbed to the top of the wall, where frantic soldiers were still trying to fire arrows or man the few remaining cannons, while mages were attempting to either erect magical barriers or fire off spells back at the foe between volleys. Below them surged a wave of howling goblins and undead, uncountable thousands barely being fazed by the efforts above. Kazuma swallowed hard, then nodded to Uraraka. "Do it." "Good luck, you two," Uraraka said, then touched Darkness and Takayami with her hands. "Oh, I cannot wait." Darkness squealed, then ran forward, leaping into the air. Kazuma cried, and his magic sent the two weightless heroes flying towards the nearest cluster of enemy mages. When they were close to the ground, Uraraka cried, "Release," and the two of them crashed into the enemy. Soon, Darkness was cleaving her way forward, the enemy's spells seemingly absorbed by her armor, while Dark Shadow ripped apart the enemy ranks with sweeping claws and a now razor-sharp beak. "She really is getting good with that sword," Kazuma mused. "All right, how do we do this?" "Jump on," Uraraka told him, patting her back. Kazuma eyed her. "What, you don't want to go for a ride on me? Let's just not argue, all right? Besides, if you're up front, I might just upchuck on you," Uraraka told him. Fine. Kazuma climbed on Uraraka, feeling a bit awkward. She touched him, and he felt like he was floating in water. Lurk. Using his wind magic, Kazuma navigated them over the battlefield. He took out a cannonball when they were out over the battlefield, passing it to Uraraka for her to touch, then hurling it downwards. Once the ball floated down far enough, Kazuma pointed and cried, "Wait." The blast sent the two of them careening through the air, but after a minute of being blown about, Kazuma managed to right them with a few well-timed gusts of wind. Oh my God, I thought I was going to be the one to upchuck. Uraraka sighed, wiping some of the vomit out of her hair. Sorry, Kazuma groaned. I could wash it off for you, saved MP. Come on, let's go. Uraraka told him. They repeated the trick 3 more times, annihilating the enemy mages and a significant portion of the army each time, which was finally beginning to show signs of damage. That's most of them. Let's check on Darkness and Takuyami, Kazuma called down. Right? Uraraka agreed, and they glided towards the section of the battlefield they had left their friends. They hadn't gone far, however, before they saw lightning flashing through the sky, raking the ground below them. Shit, looks like they found the boss, Kazuma hissed. Gust. Sure enough, below them Kazuma spied a flying mage of some sort blasting the ground with lightning. Darkness was weathering the attacks, but she was crying out more in pain than pleasure now. Takuyami was dodging most of the blasts, but both were helpless against the flying opponent, who was staying well out of even Dark Shadow's range, the luminescence of the lightning hindering him even more. We're only gonna get one shot at this, Kazuma told Uraraka. We've got to bring her down before she notices we're here. Right, sure. How do we do that? Uraraka asked Kazuma. Kazuma took a deep breath. You're gonna have to toss me. Wait is a short-range spell. All right, you sure? Uraraka asked him. Sighing, Kazuma shook his head. No, but we have to do it anyway. Darkness looks like she can't take much more of that. Okay, here it goes. Uraraka grabbed Kazuma off her shoulders, then spun him about in the air. Release! Kazuma flew through the air, hurtling towards the flying. At the last moment she spun, glaring at him, her dark eyes screaming with malevolence. She raised a hand that crackled with lightning, but Kazuma was in range now. Wait! He cried just as he cried out, and he landed on something soft, though he couldn't hear, and when he touched his ears, blood and melted wax came out on his hand. Lesser heel. He coughed. Immediately his hearing returned. Don't you dare die on me! Darkness was sobbing. Kazuma, so we have found you at last. I assume it was you who... Darkness dropped Kazuma, spinning. She too was wearing a maid outfit, and though her bodice was shaped of metal, Kazuma got the impression she wasn't a robot like the last one. Dragon lightning. A roaring dragon's head made of electricity smashed into Darkness, arching over her metal armor. Darkness cried out in agony and ecstasy, shuddering and dropping to one knee. Pathetic. I thought you were supposed to be your world's strongest warrior. Well, we did kill you once before, Lalatina, for dustiness. I killed your father myself. Squeezed the life from him when it was clear he knew not where that Axis bitch was. Arararag. Darkness surged forward, her sword forgotten, her eyes wild with fury as she tried to charge the mage directly. Dimensional move. Darkness stumbled through empty air, and as she spun, another burst of lightning struck her. You humans always succeed in disgusting me. I do not know why my master insists on leaving any of you alive at all. The worlds would be better off without you scuttling about like infestations, the mage said. Kazuma kept one eye open, watching her. She'd just teleported. She'd also canceled his weight spell. He could feel it. Takuyami charged in, but the mage simply raised a hand, conjuring a great burst of light. Takuyami reeled, and Dark Shadow vanished like the morning mist. Fool, why do you fight for these humans? What are you, a birdman? No, you have no wings. Some sort of race unique to this world, then. I am Fumikage Takuyami. The boy coughed, standing and drawing his sword. I shall be your end, the mage tisked. Japanese? So many of you fools from that land. Best if you die like the others. Magic arrow. Darkness managed to jump in the way at the last moment, stifling a moan and collapsing to the ground. Do you enjoy it, the pain? The mage asked, smiling maliciously. I remember you being a disgusting masochist. Shall I? I can't take any. Darkness panted harshly, rising and taking one. Really, let us see. The mage. Lurk, Kazuma whispered. He got up shakily, watching the sky. Yes, it was he charged at the last. That won't work against Sato Kazuma, she taunted. You may have bested some of my sisters, but in the end, it matters not. So long as we fulfill the wishes of my master, we. Kazuma gritted his teeth as Uraraka. He had the maid stepped aside. Stone skin, fortitude. He took a deep breath, crossing it. Uraraka scrambled away from the mage, activating her. Kazuma pointed to the mage, who was off. Wait, the blast was blinding, but Kazuma closed his eye. He put his hand on her chest. She gasped. Kazuma didn't answer, setting your lesser heel. That is enough. Dark seated. Right. Kazuma agreed. Now, lesser, and NG, thank you. I only wish you could do this. Takuya, well, at least it looks like we got all the mages, Uraraka said, looking around, and the boss. Kazuma smiled, looking around the battlefield. Yeah, not bad. I guess we. A hunting horn blared from nearby. Kazuma spun wildly. You killed her? The girl cried, lowering the horn. How many of them have you killed, you bastard? She was my friend. I mean, she said she hated all humans, Kazuma said, shrugging. Don't see why you're so upset. I am no longer a human. I cast that aside thanks to my master. Now I am a goblin. The girl snapped, and my soldiers will make you pay. All around Kazuma's party, white mist arose, which condensed into hundreds of fresh goblin troops. Oh shit, Kazuma, he sighed. Sorry, darkness. It is all right, she said, picking up her sword and grip. We will stand. You, Kazuma agreed. Drain. Kazuma. Darkness flailed her arms, trying to shake Kazuma off. What at first darkness sank down to the sorry, I just can't do it again. Kazuma whispered, gently. You're a raka? Levitate this. He ordered. Then get you three out of here, Kazuma said grimly. What, Takuyama? You can't be. Dark Shadow was down for the count. Darkness had almost no HP. He ordered, Kazuma, what are you? Uraraka swallowed, touching the rock. She, thank you. Good luck. Yeah, well, just win this one for me, okay, Kazuma said. Gus, Uraraka dragged the unconscious Darkness and struggling Takuyama up. Kazuma tucked the rock under his arm. Well, guess it's. He charged the goblins, evading most of the attacks, but not quite all. Still, they were just goblins. Most of them were below level 20, and Kazuma's skills meant he carved through them with ease using his sword and more than a bit of luck. He dashed and dodged, never staying put. He had to heal himself a couple times, but he gritted his teeth and pressed on. He closed in on the girl, and he let explode. He screamed, and the earth shook and rent asunder at his 13 nervously. Izuku patted his horse. Easy there, boy. It's all right. The horse snorted, shaking its head and shying slightly at the smell that was borne on the wind. Izuku wrinkled his nose himself. The stench on the wind was unnatural, like that of an open tomb. The army that was coming towards them was barely worthy of the name. It was more a collection of monstrous insects and undead abominations that blighted and poisoned the land as they moved as a skittering tide of flesh. Izuku could see massive dung beetles over 2 stories tall striding forward on dark carapace legs and leaving trails of decay, while overhead flew enormous rotting dragons on putrescent wings. This will be our end, Count Blois said, looking out at the approaching army, his face pale. What madness is this? How can we hope to triumph against such odds? Hey, don't worry about it. My babies and explosions will destroy them all, May declared. Blois swallowed, then nodded hesitantly back to her. I fear I was overcome for a moment, Lady Handsome. My apologies. They do look scary, but don't worry. Izuku is really strong, May said. He can punch all those bad guys super hard. Plus, I made him new babies with Aqua's help, so he's going to be extra tough. Blushing, Izuku looked down at his new armor yet again, fighting not to fidget as he was showcased. Aqua and Hatsum had worked together over the past week and a half to make a special set of what amounted to a flexible Kevlar equivalent alongside a titanium-reinforced bodysuit fitted with extra plating on the lower arms and hands and thicker pieces along the shins and feet. These allowed Izuku to both move quickly and finally gave him a weapon that could keep up with him and the outrageous forces he subjected himself to, hopefully at least. Aqua also said that it had some kind of special properties, being blessed by 2 goddesses, Megumin having blessed it as well, but that sort of worried Izuku as he thought it might explode if he hit something and was now about equivalent to a sacred tool of the highest order. or at least it was by Megumin's reckoning. It also had special grooves fitted into the finger joints so that Izuku could fire off blasts of air by flicking his fingers without breaking the gauntlet itself. Aqua's primary contribution was that it provided continuous healing to him, fixing minor wounds in seconds and repairing broken bones in minutes. The only drawback Izuku could really notice was that injuries took longer to heal the farther from the central armor pieces they were. Megumin's addition seemed to be that when he punched something, there was a random chance of it triggering an explosive blast, though it was sometimes hard to tell if it was the gauntlets causing the explosion or simply the force Izuku was using. Izuku had also tried testing it, but finding a solid figure on just what the actual percent chance was eluded him. Obviously, it won't trigger if you're just punching a dummy. Megumin had informed him after it had taken nearly an hour of Izuku beating on a training mannequin to get a single blast. It only works when it's appropriately dramatic. You also need to shout out something cool. Not just smash or whatever, but a real special technique name. Like Fist of Justice or Exploding Fist Technique. That's how Crimson Demon magic works. Okay, I'll test that out now then. Izuku muttered, looking down at his gauntlet and flexing it into a tight fist. Not just yet. Izuku turned to see a grinning Megumin leading forward a line of mages dressed in dark robes, wearing what looked like painted oni. It's time to show you what my Crimson Demon... Now begin. The mages joined hands and began to... Oh my god. He felt a tug on his leg to see a grinning May looking up at him. Come on, let's sing too. Feeling foolish now, Izuku climbed down off his horse and took May's hand. They began to skip forward in time to the beat. After a moment, the absurdity of the situation made it, and then the explosions actually started. A pair of mages would skip forward, raising their hands skyward. My soul is crimson, my will is that of a demon. I cry out to the void, and the void answers. Now come forth my power by the will of the goddess Megumin, mistress of... And then a detonation would strike the line of horrors moving towards, then creating smoking craters and two growing mushroom clouds. The pair of mages would collapse, then sighing in ecstasy, and the group would move forward, a new pair of mages making up an equally insane spell as attendants moved in to help those that had used their spell. Despite how silly the ritual felt to Izuku, the results were undeniable. The enemy force was rapidly being reduced to smoldering ash, and the morale of the army was growing by the moment. In fact, many of the soldiers picked up the song, much to Izuku's chagrin. Then a pair of skeletal dragons broke. How my turn? May cackled, drawing her crossbow. You get the one on the right, Izuku. On it? Izuku agreed, leaping into the air. The dragon bellowed, opening its diseased jaws wide as if to swallow the jumping hero. Air jet blast. Izuku cried, flicking both his middle fingers at the dragon when it was only 10 meters away. That, of course, triggered a massive burst of air, along with twin jets of explosions. The wind slammed into the dragon, knocking it from Aski in the air. Izuku then kicked his legs, generating another gust of air, and shot through the air off the resulting shockwave. Izuku's gauntlet found itself solidly lodged in the rotten dragon's skull, and together they immediately began to plummet to earth. The dragon tried to free itself, but Izuku swung his other fist, impaling it in bone as well. With a sickening crack, the dragon impacted the surface, sending Izuku flying. Whatever magic was holding it together faded, reducing it to nothing but another jumble of bones and rotting flesh. Groaning, Izuku stood as the suit's magic healed him. He looked over to where May was and watched as she fired a steady stream of bolts at her own dragon. Each of them had been outfitted with explosives, and the dragon roared in pain as its bones shattered under their impacts. May aimed for the wings, zoom allowing her to see exactly where its remaining tendons connected for maximum effect, sending the maddened beast spiraling down to the ground. May loaded another rack of explosives, bolts, and blew it to pieces. My babies are the cutest. May hooted, slapping in another rack and cocking her crossbow. Good job, Izuku. Yeah, you too. Look out, here come more. This time, half a dozen dragons swooped down at them, coming at them from the flanks as monster bugs rushed down the center. Izuku jumped into the air, then slammed his open palms together. Smash! A shockwave of compressed force shot forward a blade of air from his impact. cutting directly through the frail flesh of one dragon and sent the two others tumbling to the ground, disoriented. Izuku turned to try again on his left, but May had already finished emptying her bolt rack into one dragon, then chanted 2Al plus Fetwu 3 Tufi plus Altwu 3 plus 850 KJ slash Maul. As the words were spoken, the last dragon didn't even have time to roar in pain, simply disintegrating in a ball of flame. They fell back onto the ground, giggling madly. The remaining mages were thankfully able to cover her prone form, handling the line of bugs as explosions blasting their lines and reducing them to smoking hunks of ichor and carapace. Cavalry troops moved in, trampling the remaining stragglers. Despite the destruction, though, the land still wriggled and squirmed with thousands or perhaps millions of insects more, and Izuku could still see hundreds of undead shambling forward, from undead rats to cows to a disturbing number of shambling humans. Izuku hurried over to check on May, but she seemed fine, if totally drained of energy for the moment. He helped her back to the clerics for treatment. After making sure she would be cared for, Izuku turned to see Aqua glaring out at the encroaching blight, her staff held in a white-knuckled grip and an angry snarl on her normally mischievous face. "What's the matter?" Izuku asked, moving to stand beside the usually easygoing goddess. "This is wrong. Something is corrupting the life essence of this world. I can sense it. A powerful magical artifact, like one of the sacred relics we give to," Aqua said, looking serious for once in her life. Izuku frowned, nodding slowly. "Okay, how do we do that?" Aqua grimaced. "I'm going to have to get to the center of that. I can keep off the undead myself, but the insects and crawlies, ugh, I can't do much about those. I can purify the land, but that won't just kill them. Right, I'll take you then. Hop on." She gave him a wary look. "You just—" Izuku took a deep breath, trying to contain. He barely succeeded. "Look, this is— What, am I not pretty enough for you?" Aqua demanded. "I am a literal goddess. My measurements are perfect, calculated to be. Because you're a spoiled brat who reacts like this in the middle of a life or death situation, they might not be as perfect as you, but she's real, and she likes me, and she's smart and brave and really pretty. And I'm honestly offended you think I'd cheat on her in the middle of a crisis." Aqua blinked at Izuku, then cocked her head to one side. "How you're talking this surprisingly well." Izuku said, he's suddenly feeling unsure about what to do. He'd half expected Aqua to explode, and the other half had expected her to cry and pout. "You just reminded me of someone. That's all. Okay, let's do this. I think I can trust you, Midoriya. You're not Kazuma, but I still think we can be friends. Right, let's warn the king and the others first," Izuku said. He hurried over to where the king was sitting on his horse, surrounded with his mages and generals, Aqua following right behind him. "Look, the king, the battle goes well for now. Still, I am worried. We are running out of mages, and though their magic is beyond anything I have ever seen, I fear it will not last for long enough to break this foe. My men are brave, but those beasts have slaughtered every man. We're going to try to find whatever it is that's guiding those things." Izuku told boys, "I'm going to jump into the middle of it with Aqua. She says that there is a magical object of some kind summoning and controlling them. If we destroy it, we can end this. It's a risk, I know, but we have to take it." "You would leap into the very heart of that swarm?" King Charles asked, shocked at the very idea. He shook his head. "You are a brave man, Wolfsbane. But I thank you. I would offer to go myself, but I fear that though I bear our most powerful relics, I would be of little use. Yeah, one more thing. We need Megumin." Megumin was strange, but her spell was even more powerful than what he could do at the moment, even if he ruined his having backup, a powerful relic. "Of course I'll help Aqua. Don't worry, my explosion magic." "Megumin," she frowned. "How do we—" "I'll be jumping into the middle of the swarm. While you and Aqua deal with the relic, I'll fight." "Very well. That's crazy," Izuku muttered. "But I guess you're both goddesses, so it's accurate. Right, Aqua, you climb on my back, Megumin, I'll carry you. Let's do this." Taking a deep breath, Izuku squatted, then took a running start before The ground beneath him was pulverized from the force of his takeoff, and horses bucked wildly alongside startled men from the sound that followed it. Izuku flew well over. To propel himself, Izuku kicked at the air again, the force of his kicks enough to shoot him out over the field and into the center of the enemy army with minimal damage as he avoided frantic dragons along with undead. Then Aqua pointed her hand at them. Turn undead. The simple spell was enough to reduce the flying enemies to ash, though it didn't stop the few insects that rose up on thrumming wings to give chase. Izuku proved to be too fast for them to reach, however, seeming to dash through the air with powerful gusts left in his wake that shredded the pursuing monsters. There, Megumin called, pointing at a dark obelisk at the center of the swarm and a wagon pulled by undead horses. It was made of dark stone that seemed to draw in the light around it, broken only by veins filled with what looked like solid rot and corruption as insects crawled out of its base in constant waves. I see it. How long do you? Izuku asked. Megumin laughed. That's my secret, Midoriya. I don't need to prepare anything. I'm always ready. Divine explosion. Izuku had thought what he had seen the mages conjure earlier had been impressive, and what Mei had done amazing. This was coming from the kid who grew up with Katsuki Bakugo. The mage's blasts had been fireballs that had looked like they were equal to about half a ton of TNT, while Mei's had easily been 4 or 5 times. This blast was so massive that it swallowed up a good chunk of the swarm, which stretched for miles and miles and then. It was so huge that Izuku was caught in the blast, saved only by a shield of water Aqua conjured up that sheltered them from the impact. Later, Mei would inform Izuku that according to her calculations, the blast was equal to a kiloton nuclear detonation, though without the radioactive fallout, Mei having whipped up a Geiger counter. Even with Aqua's shield, though, the blast still tossed Izuku higher up into the air and spun him. He managed to keep his head, though, clutching tightly to the now limp Megumin and trying to correct his descent with. They landed at the center of the devastation, where nothing remained but a huge. The fell device now cracked somewhat in half, but seemed to be mostly intact despite it. Perfect, Aqua said. I'll handle. She ran. Purification. What did you think? What rating would you? I don't know. That was Megumin. That was the biggest explosion I have ever seen, and I know a guy named Katsuki Bakugo who literally sweats explode. Izuku told her. Megumin curled her lip. Oh, so he gets to name himself Master Explosion Winner, does he? Well, you tell your friend that I quote am the master of explosion magic, you hear. It will be good to see Kachin again. We have to have nearly one right. Foolish child. Izuku spun to see 2 women on the lip of the crater, both dressed. One was a blonde woman with dead eyes and a murderous grin, while the other was off. Izuku couldn't put his finger on it, but something about her was just wrong. Like looking at a distorted. Izuku quickly backed away. Aqua, get ready. Those 2 look like. Who? Oh, Aqua, do they look familiar to you? Megumin asked, struggling to sit up. I think. No, they weren't there. Aqua said, just. We have never met before. The small dark-haired one. Her lips didn't move as she spoke. If we weren't supposed to fight you, the blonde said, licking her lips. But the wizard has used her one spell for the day, and Aqua cannot. Something about who the 2 women were behaving felt off to Izuku. They had to have seen him fighting before, and yet they were confidently that alone. Raising his hand, Izuku fired off a blast of wind. The effect the blast had on the approaching pair was drastic. The smaller one seemed to fly apart, her body unfolding as she sprawled on the ground. As for the blonde, she rippled, her body acting as if it were made of jello. Then she snapped back into shape as if nothing had happened, only the tears and wrinkles on the fabric of her clothing. What the heck? Izuku gasped, taking half. Midoriya, don't touch the blonde. Megumin's voice suddenly cried. She's a slime. If you touch her, she'll just. Oh ho, so you recognize what? The maid chuckled, her mouth spreading wide in a hideous grin. We waited until you'd expended your spell, Megumin. Your explosion magic could kill me outright, but you have nothing else that could possibly affect me. Not even that boy's wind can touch me, for it is merely physical. You forgot about me, Aqua. Sacred. The light surrounded the woman, and oops, I'm not a poison slime, you know. Shall we? Izuku's gut clenched and his skin seemed to crawl as the body of the smaller girl rose up on 4 black legs, a long centipede. Her face was now hanging down towards the ground, but that only, indeed, Zeta. The blonde hissed. That was when Megumin stood up, causing both of the foes to gasp and recoil. Thank you for revealing your... This cannot be. She used her spell. She can use it but once per day. There are no manatite or recovery potions in this realm, and that fool is still in... She must be bluffing, Zeta hissed. A swarm of insects spewed forth from Zeta's mouth, and Izuku hastily grabbed Aqua and Megumin, jumping away to the lip of the crater. Megumin, Aqua asked, sounding worried as Megumin, you should never underestimate. Kill them now. Epsilon raged as she summoned more insects. Megumin, the fireball this time was much less impressive, leaving a smaller crater at the center of the other, but it was still larger than anything May or the mages mustered by an order of magnitude. Afterward, May would compare the crater's size and blast radius to at least 10 tons of TNT in yield, and Izuku had to brace himself to shelter both Aqua and Megumin as the shock wave enveloped them. He grunted in pain, but managed to hold firm thanks to his armor. When the dust and smoke finally settled, there was nothing left of either Epsilon or Zeta. HMPH, I never liked those two anyway, Aqua sniffed. Good riddance. Now if only we can do that to the rest of the Lord of the Tomb's minions. She slid down into the crater, jogging across it to the still relatively unscathed obelisk. Excuse me, Megumin said, tugging Izuku's pants leg. He looked down to see her flopped on the ground. I'm afraid I will have to ask you to carry me again, please. Yeah, Izuku agreed, picking Megumin up and then hurrying back down into the crater to follow Aqua. Thanks, you really think that slime was so dangerous? They really are immune to most physical attacks, Megumin told him. You might have been able to hurt her eventually, but as she touched you, she'd have dissolved and eaten you. Predator slimes digest their food live, so it would not have been pleasant. Probably not, Izuku agreed. He ended up having to fight off a few more giant insects and skeletal dragons that attacked while Aqua purified the evil obelisk, but that wasn't too difficult. Once the obelisk fought, even a miraculous victory. King Charles praised that Slime Girl said something, though. Izuku mentioned something about a place called Konagrai. It sounded like they were under attack, too. The king shifted uneasily. Konagrai is the land this foul army. The last word we had was that the Kaiser had gone out with his army to face the foe in the field. If it were a tenth the strength, if Konagrai falls, they will come here next. We would. The king. No, Izuku cried. I came here to save the whole world. If Konagrai is... He's right. It would be pretty dumb to let all those people just die. That would just give the Lord of the Tomb more fodder for zombies. Or something stupid like Aqua. The king considered that. You are, unfortunately, correct. I cannot send my entire force to a foreign land. However, there are still monsters that are about, and our forces are wearied already from me, Izuku gasped. But the hero who just slew half a dozen dragons with his bare hands carries with him the blessing of two goddesses, one of life and the other destruction, and is now the most respected man in this kingdom. King Charles told, do not, your grace, boys, you have done your king and people a great service, Marquis. Do not think I have not noticed. Consider this your first test to see if you are worthy. I shall not fail. Blois promised, bowing. He grinned proudly, slapping Izuku on the shoulder. Come, Wolfsbane. We have much to prepare for before we set out upon the 14. Once again, Kazuma was dead. Considering he had spent several centuries that way, it didn't really bother him. What did bother him was that he was currently all alone. He looked around, putting his arm. Hello, get a little service here. Come on. Sheesh, I'm a very important You can. Oh, hey, Rista. Say around. He's busy fighting the Lord of the Tomb just like you should be. You good for nothing neat. Rista, do you know? Kazuma I mean, I just defeated one of his armies and blew up two of his generals. Don't see what the big deal is. Just let me go back to Aqua's room. I'm sure Megumin misses me. She didn't miss you at all, that's the problem. She blew you sky high. After what, Kazuma blinked in confusion. No, I blew myself up with my weight spell crap. I didn't even cast it. Those piles of ash, unlike you, who somehow, thanks to your stupidly good luck skill, are just an extra crispy corpse instead. Rista said, sticking a finger under Kazuma's. You tell Aqua when she finishes with you that we are going to have words about just how many of my followers she's stealing. Upper manager, Rista, quit wasting your time with the NET. Seiya, Rista's husband, said, stepping into the light beside her. Kazuma rolled his eyes at the man. They had never gotten along, Kazuma being the consummate slacker and Seiya being a hardcore overachiever. He's useless as his goddess. He's never prepared. Hey, I was totally prepared, you rude asshole. Kazuma snapped, standing and glaring up at the much taller Seiya. I made cannons and blew up that whole army. But this Lord of the Tomb guy has cheat items too. This weird girl resummoned a whole goblin army, and sacrificing myself heroically was the only way to take them out and save my. If you had spent your time in the divine realm training instead of playing video games and eating junk food, this would not have been a problem for you, Seiya said, narrowing his. It's your group, Kazuma. Oh, so it's my fault we didn't defeat him the first time. What the hell, man? Even you lost to a demon lord once, Aqua told me all about it. Yes, and I paid for it with Rista's life and my own, and we only barely saved our child, Seiya retorted, shaking his head stiffly. You should have. Oh, no, she won't. I am not going back there. Where is she? Kazuma argued. Rista frowned. Wait, you don't know. She's with you in that world. She finally got off her lazy ass and incarnated herself on the front lines, even if you were breaking the quarantine. That's what Seiya and I are doing until I had to deal with you. Nor he never listens. Come, Todoroki and the Seiya said. Fine. I'm just mad that Aqua found Rista complained. Seiya raised an eyebrow at you are insatiable. I was going for 4. We have to enjoy our time in the mortal realm while we can. Rista, hold up a second. What do you mean Aqua's there? It was just me in darkness, Kazuma exclaimed. I thought gods and goddesses were forbidden from incarnating because of the God Slayer. Rista shook her head. No, your entire group was there. They didn't go with Union and Eris back to Belzerg, I checked. Aqua and Megumin have been stealing thousands of my faithful, which is a serious problem when I'm fighting in the front lines, Godslayer or no. Wait, Union went to Belzerg? Kazuma. And what's it's all these kids from that weird realm that opened up to us recently. I thought you knew. That's why you went with them. Rista explained. You know, the ones with quirks. Aren't there some in your group? Yeah, Uraraka and Takayami. Kazuma agreed. Wait, how do you know about them? 4 of them have joined Rista and I. We are about to drive the Godslayer off of one of the Lord of the Tomb's worlds, Seiya stated. Other gods and goddesses have allied with them in other realms. At long last, Nazarick is in retreat. Wait, we're winning? For real? Kazuma demanded in disbelief. But we've been losing for so long. It didn't matter what kind of cheat items we used or how many adventurers we sent, they kept dying and failing. I know something has changed. Personally, I think this smacks of the hand of upper management, Rista said with a shudder. Even Seiya looked concerned at that, putting a protective hand on his wife's shoulder. Upper management. Kazuma asked. Aqua's mentioned them, but I don't know much about it. Who exactly are they, or even what? It's best if you don't know. They took over our division well before my time, but what little contact I have had with them as well. Rista snarled, shaking. Kazuma, damn it, come, Aqua, hurry up. There was the sounds of the. Upon hearing the new voice, Kazuma instantly allowed himself to be resurrected. He gasped for air, opening his eyes. And there she was, her eyes filled with tears. Kazuma didn't say anything, just jerking up and rapping. He was crying too, but tried to put a tough face on it. I should have known it was your useless ass that blew me up. I should have been familiar with the sensation by now. I'm sorry. Megumin wept uncontrollably, her face a mess even as she smiled widely. I didn't know you were there. I foolish. Hey, it's all right, I'm used to it, Kazuma consoled, gently patting Megumin's back. Then Kazuma realized there were other people around them. He looked up and found a green-haired boy looking. Who the hell is this guy? Hi, I'm Izuku Midoriya. Pleased to meet you. I guess, I'm sort of the one who dragged Aqua into this. And I'm the one who got Megumin. A girl with pink hair and intensely yellow eyes said, jumping up and elbowing Midoriya aside. Hello, I'm May Hastem. Are you Megumin's boyfriend? Megumin looked away, her face as red as her eyes, but Kazuma just laughed. Yeah, I guess I fit right in with these idiots. Thanks, by the way, Aqua. It's good to see you again. Well, I figured you just needed the help of a goddess like my Aqua. I thought you came here on accident because you didn't listen when Izuku May. Yeah, that sounds about right. Kazuma agreed, slowly getting to his feet, though it took. Well, as fun as that sounds, I am quite capable of walking, thank you. Megumin told him, then to Kazuki's shock, actually stood up on her own and grinned impudently at him. You are not dealing with a useless wizard who knows we get to skip around and sing about explosions. It's really fun. Apparently, it lets Megumin cast extra spells every day. I wish I could do it because after one explosion, Izuku is ignore the prattlings of this ignorant commoner. Megumin, she knows what I thought I was your high priestess. I even made you a printing press so we could make flyers for you to mail. Megumin jumped at Hatsum, grabbing the if you do not stop interrupting me and making our religion look lame, I thought it was making a big boom. Well, yes, that is, Meg. She's, do not dare. She's got everyone behaving like a bunch of middle schoolers going through an edgy phase, doesn't she? Kazuma, mid-warrior grimace. I mean, it works, but it's really weird to watch. They all do these strange poses, and all the spells for the explosion are different. Hatsum just recites oxidation reactions, and they work just as well as the random gothic. That is because what they are doing is offering up prayers to their goddess. Megumin declared. She glanced at sure, I mostly just like it when people tell me how awesome Aqua. We can set the parameters for effective prayers as pretty much anything so long as, then how come she just recites? Obviously, because she is my friend, and I am doing her a favor. Megumin sniffed. If you're nice to me, perhaps, really because I had something else in mind, Kazuma said, stepping forward. She glared up at him. And what is that? I figured I'd take your panties again, Kazuma. But this time why you jerk? You think just because I blew you up that I'm going to let you do perverted things to me? Even if they sound fun, and I have been imagining finally giving myself to your. Oh, you totally can't do that. Aqua interrupted. Sorry, Megumin. What? Kazuma and Megumin yelled at the same time. Aqua. If you have sex with Kazuma, you totally forfeit your godly powers and followers. Those are the rules. Impossibly, Aqua then proceeded to reach into her bodice with her full arm. This is out, Megumin. She quickly flipped through the book, her eyes. Kazuma tried to lean over to get a look. She ripped. That is vile, wicked, I know. Yeah, we lose more recruits through the boinking rule than any other. Aqua, she made, though I still don't know why. Tears welled up in Kazuma. You mean, Kazuma threw, for all, you're telling me I'm cursed to be a virgin neat for the rest of, well, screw this. Megumin, I swear it off. I'm not going to be a god. Kazuma, wait, Megumin. We are crossing the final frontier. Kazuma, Megumin let out a squeak. Darkness. Megumin gasped as darkness ran forward, her breasts bouncing. Megumin suddenly, damn it, hasn't she? You two have been going at it like damn bunny. I never should have let you out of my. Hey, whoever you are, I'm going to warn you once get off of Kazuma. I don't know how he's alive, but I'm going to. You're a rock. I resurrected him. Aquas. Megumin's eyes took, trembling. That's better. You're raucous. Now, BB boobs, Megumin stammered, hunched over as she looked right at Uraka. Damn it. Uraka went beet red and jerked. What the curse this wretched form? Megumin whimpered, tears. This one isn't even a boob monster like darkness, and she's still bigger than me. Megumin, darkness asked, coming over and putting a hand on the mage's shoulder. Are you OH? Don't touch me, you worthless love rival. I thought Megumin raved, slapping Darkness' breasts like a pair of beaks. Darkness moaned and took a step back. Curse these! Stupid! Megumin shrieked as she was grabbed by the ankles and hung upside down, her hat topping from her head. Her robes tried to fall over her head as well, but she desperately tried to keep them up, though Kazuma did catch a good look at her panties, black and lacy as always. I will warn you once, do not treat my ladies. Takayami declared as dark Yeah, he's the only one who gets to play with her tits like that. His Takuyami. Kazuma said, tapping. Yes, Kazuma decked the bird by right in the beak just as he set off a flower. Takuyami staggered back as dark shadows screeched in annoyance. I'm gonna warn you once, he said sternly, doing his best. Uraraka is a friend. Don't go picking on her. And you can posture and rant all you want, but not actually hurting darkness. That's Takuyami's job now. And as for me, well, I'll have you know that even in this dark hour, I am firmly committed to the Megaman path and unlocking your 8th scene. You realize your Raka thinks I'm a disgusting pervert and probably wouldn't touch me, let alone let me try it, and that blue-haired bimbo over there will have to resort. Your Raka swore with an upraised fist. And well, I personally think big boobs are completely overrated. Small chests are just he has told me that I have completely ruined boobs for him. She confirmed with no small amount of joy. And Megumin, just so you know, he was offered a harem of 2 fetching girls that he could do whatever he wished with, and he turned them down. He even declined my offers before I became involved with Takuyami. He's been most. Megumin took a deep breath, then looked up at Kazuma, searching for any sign of lying. She went for a pout, but mostly it looked like she was trying hard not to cry again. Is that true? Did you really turn down harem? That's not the cash trash I know. What can I say? Their boobs were way too big, he said, before pinching Megumin's rear. She let out a shriek and tried to slap him, but she was too busy laughing in relief. And then she just grabbed his cheek and pulled him down for a kiss. After an embrace that should have been longer, she rested her head on his shoulder and I really did. I surprise even myself sometimes. Besides, would I really be the same Kazuma if I wasn't a virgin? Yeah, you keep being a goddess. And I'll be right there at your side, Megumin. Though I will say this last explosion. What that was an incredible Megumin. It was, yeah, but you blew me up too, so I knocked a few off, Kazuma said, letting her back down. He looked around as Megumin straightened her clothes, rubbing his chin. So, Midoriya Hatsum, you're from the same world as Uraraka and Takuyami. They were our classmates. Takuyami confirmed, rubbing his beak. We were on the same team in the sports festival. Wait, did you guys end up with Kazuma and Darkness as your bonuses? How did that happen? Izuka asked. Darkness asked to come with me, and Takayami picked Kazuma out of spite. Uraraka explained. What about you two? I picked Megumin because she agreed to teach me how to make amazing explosions, and so that I would not have to go to boring heaven or get reincarnated as a baby, which would be dumb, May explained. Izuku got stuck with Aqua because she is not very smart. Hey, Aqua cried. She spun to face Kazuma, Darkness, and Megumin. He cheated, you believe me, right. Her 3 friends just gave Aqua a flat look. Aqua, they changed the rules so goddesses couldn't accidentally get chosen as a cheat item, Kazuma said slowly. Megumin rubbed her forehead. Which means you had to deliberately choose yourself. Takayami blinked, seeing an inconsistency. Wait, then how did I choose Kazuma? You mean he wanted to come? All eyes turned to Kazuma, who blanched and shuffled his feet, kicking some suddenly interesting ashes. You made me really angry, questioning my awesome powers, so, I kinda sorta accidentally on purpose picked myself. To prove you wrong? How that means you're as dumb as I am. Aqua laughed. Aqua, you know you just admitted to being an idiot, right? Darkness sighed. Aqua sniffed and stuck her nose in the air with great pride. It doesn't matter as long as everyone acknowledges that I am smarter than Kazuma and also much more beautiful, powerful, useful, and artistically gifted. And humbler, too. You're gifted at something, all right, Kazuma muttered. He sighed, then stepped forward and pulled a startled Aqua into a hug. Thanks for saving me again, Aqua. Aqua sniffed, tears of her own at the corners of her eyes, and hugging Kazuma right back. I was lonely when you weren't there. I was so worried I'd finally have to reincarnate you and I'd be all alone again. You guys all have to become gods like Megumin, all right? Yeah, that's not happening. Kazuma said, I'm getting laid. I'm not. You keep saying that, and so does Aqua. What's a virgin NET anyway? May demanded. And why does Izuku get all weird when people say it? It means he's a loser who never leaves the house, plays video games all day, and doesn't have a girlfriend. Uraraka explained, making a face. So basically, Kazuma, but he's out of his natural habitat right now. Oh, well then stop calling Izuku a virgin neat, Aqua. May snapped. He does mouth and stared at Izuku, who had gone equally red and looked as though he wanted to find a rock large enough to crawl under and die of embarrassment. You're dating Hatsum now? Takayami asked. He then gave Izuku a thumbs up. Nice, she's pretty cute and smart. Hey, not kinky enough. Dark Shadow opined. I bet she's not even into the weird shit like darkness is. Izuku managed to calm himself before Uraraka. Uraraka. Yes, Izuku has very nice muscles and he lets me touch them and I let him touch my boobies. It makes me feel very nice. Hastem agreed. I'm happy for you. Uraraka gasped, fanning herself with this world. It's pretty weird. Who's Deku? Hatsune. Is it Aqua? She is definitely useless. Uraraka blinked. Oh yeah, okay. I guess I'm gonna just call you Midoriya from now on. If Aqua's half the experience that Kazuma is, I wouldn't want to be associated with her either. I just resurrected Kazuma and I killed Aqua Snake. What have you? Started an industrial revolution, introduced several super cute babies that can make new raw materials, blew up dragons, learned magic, and got a boyfriend. Is this a competition? Because if it is, I should be winning. You have not made anything interesting since we got here, and you don't have a boyfriend. May laughed. I am not a virgin neat. Aqua snapped, furious at her own insult being used against her. I don't know, you never left the divine realm until I came along, and all you wanted to do is go back. When you're there, all you do is nap in your room, drink yourself silly, and play video games with us all day, Kazuma pointed out. Plus, as you pointed out, goddesses can't have sex ever, so you're definitely a virgin. At least I've gotten to second base. Megumin was kneeling and picking up the rumpled pages of the book, frowning at them. Aqua, just what constitutes an act to make me lose my goddess powers? Aqua put her tongue back in her mouth, having been sticking it out at Kazuma. Have I told you sex? Right, but that could mean a lot of things. Megumin, that is when the boy inserts the penis into the vaginal canal, then orgasms. May recited dutifully. She shrugged. I do not know what all that really means, but I think Izuku and I are going to find out tonight. You remember I said we were waiting for marriage, right, May? Izuku said, sweating. Plus, we'd have to use protection anyway. We really don't want you to end up pregnant right now. That is a good point. May agreed. Can goddesses marry peoples? Hub Megumin looked up, frowning. Of course they can. All right, I have figured out a loophole. It doesn't say anything about, other kinds of stimulation. So Kazuma, don't you dare try to sneak off on me this time. I do have extras. They are very thick chains. Excellent for holding down a demon. Darkness said eagerly, even as Takayami blushed. He was also betrayed by dark shadows. No chains. Are you sure? I mean, we could just wait a little longer until I've been waiting hundreds of years. I cannot contain myself any longer, Megumin announced. Something is happening tonight. Yes, you should marry Izuku and I, then we can do whatever we want. May agreed. Everyone looked to Izuku, who had gone beet red as a slow, stupid-looking grin spread across his face. That sounds good to me. Oh God. Uraraka groaned, putting her head in her hands. I am surrounded by perverts and idiots. Yet Kazuma agreed, a joyful, moronic smile on his own face. But there are perverts and idiots.
Okay, guys, I really do continue this. Uh, I will play more Arsenal too, but it is just annoying as fuck. Okay, how many I want? Let's see. Okay, I'm probably gonna do 18, but that is longer than what I thought. It's gonna be really 15. Hmm. Mm. Hmm. Oh, come on. That is. Yes, I don't know why people just do that. They say you. Son of a bitch. So I do basically copy, paste it. Check this out. I've got to actually put 16 here. Fuck, that's not really important. 16. Oh, fuck, fuck. Mm, okay, I think I'm getting to it. Hopefully, I can start there. This is the chapter. Okay. 18 was the chapter the guy stopped doing great things. And let me show you. Let me show you what the fuck it is. Okay, maybe there was more than that. This guy stopped at 18, more or less. 18 or more. Like 18 or 20. But he did not go over to them all the way over here. 45. There's more. Oh, this is actually the fuck last person on the thing, more or less? Oh, no, it's not. Okay, I think it's maybe like a little bit not to maybe 20 at least up there. No, the end season one. This guy stopped at end season one, but there's more than that. It's continuum. No, the guy ended at this one. This is where the guy ended. 19 and 20. That's where he ended. I ended up my 75 on that. What's 15 of them?
It felt decidedly odd to Izuku to be sitting with his classmates at a table for a meal. When was the last time he'd done this? He counted back, trying to calculate just how long they'd been in this world. More than 2 months, he guessed, though it was entirely possible the time passed differently here. So, he was probably 16 now. It still seemed a bit young to be getting married, but if Izuku had to share a bed with May again for another night, he wasn't really sure what he was going to do, but he knew for damn sure he wasn't ending up like his parents. Plus, he was entirely likely to die again in the next few days, so why not actually try and enjoy life a little while he had it? This feels weird, right? It's not just me. Yoraka asked again, picking at her meal with her fork and knife. Little changes like that were something Izuku had needed to get used to, as chopsticks were apparently unknown here. It does feel odd to once more be sitting at a meal with you all. Takoyami agreed, almost as though we should be in the cafeteria at UA, talking about an upcoming test. I never ate in the cafeteria. Lunchtime is valuable time which could be used for making babies, May stated as she speared a sausage. Izuku had finally managed to persuade her that one could not live on sugar alone, but sitting with Izuku and you two is fun, so I guess I can wait. Plus, we will be making different kinds of babies later, and that sounds really interesting too. Uraka shook her head slowly. You know, I seriously didn't think I'd see Izuku getting married before we even graduated from UA, but here we are. And it doesn't even sound like the worst idea I've heard all day. Congratulations, by the way, I guess. Thanks, Izuku said, looking nervously at May. Was this really a good idea? Then she smiled at him, and his lower brain affirmed that it was indeed an excellent idea. So, what have the two of you done since you got here? Killed monsters, got laid. Dark Shadow squawked gleefully. That isn't an entirely inaccurate statement, Takoyami admitted. We first fought a creature known as the Duke of Terror, a giant cockroach. It was, more dangerous than it sounds. It was in a cave, and that is when darkness and I began our relationship. Takoyami blushed through his feathers, finding his vegetables especially interesting. We've spent all our time either fighting, training, or traveling, or some weird combination of the three. This world really is different than the one we left behind. The suffering we've seen, it's been making me think, mostly about how lucky we've been before all this. Uraka said quietly. I used to want to be a hero just for the money, and I still do want to get rich, but I could never just stand by and watch when people needed help. I've had nightmares of if those monsters we faced ever came back home. May nodded and grinned, missing the dour mood as she held up her crossbow. We have been making super cute babies. You have seen my crossbow, but I also made an aluminum refinery, a steam-powered electrical generator, Izuku's special baby for his armor, invented new smelting and refining methods, and developed a variety of explosives. I saw the cannons you made. Those are very nice. I have thought of several upgrades we can make, such as breech loading mechanisms, recoil for the barrels, explosive shells, and a mechanical target and range finder. I guess you weren't kidding about starting an industrial revolution, were you? Uraka whistled, sounding impressed. You're pretty smart. I gotta admit, I wasn't really sure when Izuku asked you to be on our team back at the sports festival, but you were a good choice. I'm glad you came with us, Hatchum. Thank you, even if I did accidentally blow up the world. I did not think about how your quirk uses anti-gravity and the interaction that would have with my baby, May admitted. Neither did I, but hey, if that hadn't happened, we wouldn't have gotten to go on this adventure together. It's been scary and strange, but in the end I think I've made some good friends and it's been, well, kind of fun. Uraka giggled. Even Kazuma? Izuku asked, smiling as they glanced over at the table next to theirs. Their four odd companions were all talking happily, sharing in food and drink that had been provided by the grateful city. They were all triumphantly returned to the Kaiser's palace, where a grand celebration was already being held outside their private meal hall. As strange as it may sound, they do have a certain charm to them, even if they are decidedly odd, Takoyami said. He just enjoys the sex. Dark Shadow squawked. Darkness said they are going all the way tonight. I seriously can't believe I'm going to be the only virgin at the end of this. Uraka sighed before draining her mug of ale. Don't worry, we don't think you're a neat like Aquois, May assured her. Besides, I'm sure you will find someone nice. There are lots of guys here. Maybe you will like one of them. Nah, I'm going home. Relationships are too expensive anyway. Best to stay single and save money, Uraka said, pouring herself another mug. Yeah, Izuku agreed, fiddling with his silverware. You think we can beat this Lord of the Tomb? From what Aqua and Megaman said, he's already conquered a bunch of worlds. I know we've managed to beat all the generals and stuff so far, but he just sounds a lot more dangerous. Of course we can, May declared. We're all back together again. We can do anything. Yeah, I hope you're right. Izuku agreed. He managed to smile. But hey, we're supposed to celebrate, right? A short time later, Marquess boys came to collect Izuku while Megumin took no time in spiriting May away. Marriage practices in this world differed slightly from those Izuku were familiar with, though getting dressed up in your finest was still a part of it. Izuku ended up having to borrow a fine velvet doublet and hose along with a sable fur cloak. He declined a sword, however, and once Marquess boys told the story of how Izuku had literally punched multiple dragons to death, it was agreed he did not require one. The ceremony was to take place in the great hall of the Kaiser's palace, before assembled dignitaries from two previously hostile nations. It felt decidedly surreal and odd to Izuku, and he was more than a little nervous and worried, wondering what would go wrong. After all, what would his mother think? But then the music started, and Izuku didn't have much time to worry anymore. He, along with Takayami, Kazuma, and Marquess boys, strode out into the main hall in a diamond formation to where Aqua was standing atop the dais at the end of the hall. She smiled at Izuku, winking mischievous. Who approaches the goddess? Lord Izuku Midoriya, the wolf-baned hero of two realms and defender of the Axis faith, Marquess boys proclaimed. What does he seek this day? Aqua asked, turning to the next in line. He seeks the hand of a maiden to join his own, Takayami declared. Aqua nodded seriously. Is he brave and true, and will he protect and succor her always? I mean, the dude punched a werewolf in half and drop-kicked a dragon, apparently, Kazuma said with a shrug. Plus, he can't be a worse cook than Hatsune from what I've heard. Izuku had to stifle nervous giggles at Kazuma's rather colorful and inappropriate response. Boys looked mortified, but Takayami merely rolled his eyes while the Kaiser actually barked out a laugh, by now apparently taking a liking to Kazuma's rather novel way of speaking. Kazuma, Aqua hissed. Stick to the script. Fine. Ye verily, Sir Wolfsbane is the baddest of asses, and hath slain many a foul beast, Kazuma said in a mocking tone. Aqua gave Kazuma a death glare, before smiling sweetly. But where is the maiden that he seeks? That was when the lights went out. Damn it, but it was too late. A bright light started to shine on the side door that May's party was supposed to come out of. Tremble, mortals, for a maiden approaches. Megumin's, behold! Meet May shouted, jumping out of the door, her arms spread wide. She was wearing not the bridal gown that had been selected for her, but rather a long leather jacket like a duster, along with a pink blouse and brown trousers and a coarser goggles. That's not the line, you've got to say it. Megumin hissed, sticking her head out of the door. Oh, right. May snapped her fingers before suddenly striking a pose, going up on one leg and sticking her hands out. Super bridal party assemble. Megumin slid out of the door, crouching low with her arms out at her sides pointing down. Megumin, the maid of honor and mistress of explosions. Darkness twirled out of the door in her repaired armor, striking a pose while flexing one arm and pointing skyward with the other. Darkness, the toughest of the bridesmaids and mistress of defense. Your Ravity, the sanest of the bridesmaids. She thought this was really silly but went along with it for her friends and a medium-sized bride. And me, May Handsome, the bride, the smartest one and the inventor of Super Bridal Party, where evil rears its ugly face. Megumin purred. Darkness smiled. We'll take the field with poise. We'll save the day, never fear. Your rocket cheered. Because me, May the bride, is here. May cackled. Wow, Kazuma said, shaking his head. Didn't realize Megumin had been watching Super Sentai. What? Megumin cried, jumping up as the others relaxed into a normal position, mirroring the boys. That was totally the Ginyu Force from Dragon Ball Z.
Okay, I think I'm probably done. I'm done for now, yeah. So, anyway, please like, favorite, share, subscribe, and goodbye. Don't worry.